attention. Attention. Code red in Lab 7. I repeat, code red in Lab 7. The station's AI blared through the speakers, its usually monotonous voice carrying a hint of panic. Researcher down. Medical team required immediately. Commander Blip-Zoop sprinted down the pristine white corridor of the Galactic Research Station, their 4 tentacles making a rhythmic slapping sound against the polished floor. Behind them, Dr. Nova Starweaver, the station's leading xenobiologist, tried keeping pace, her crystalline body catching the overhead lights and sending rainbow reflections dancing across the walls. What in the name of the 7 moons happened? Blip-Zoop demanded, bursting through the laboratory doors. The scene before them was absolute chaos. Junior researcher Ping Pong lay writhing on the floor, their normally pale green skin turned an alarming shade of purple. Next to them, a small red bottle labeled sriracha sat innocently on its side, a single drop of the dangerous substance still visible on its nozzle. Sweet mother of asteroids, Dr. Starweaver gasped, pulling out her scanner. Their internal temperature is rising faster than a supernova. Water. Need water, Ping Pong screamed, all 3 of their tongues hanging out. By the cosmic gods, it burns. The medical team rushed in, led by Dr. Bob, who, despite having the simplest name on the station, was actually a sentient cloud of gas wearing a white coat. Everyone back. Give them space. Dr. Bob expanded himself to create a protective barrier around the patient. Blip-Zoop picked up the offending bottle with their safety tentacle. This is what those humans call a condiment. They turned to senior researcher Jack Frost, an actual living snowman who had joined their team specifically to study Earth's frozen desserts. But that's another story. Affirmative, Commander Jack replied, careful to maintain his distance from the bottle. The humans apply this substance voluntarily to their sustenance. Some even claim it's, and I quote, not spicy enough. A collective gasp echoed through the lab. One of the junior researchers fainted, their anti-gravity belt malfunctioning and sending them floating toward the ceiling. Not spicy enough. Blip-Zoop's eye stalks twisted in disbelief. We've lost 3 researchers this week to their so-called mild substances. Remember what happened when Professor Squiggles accidentally inhaled wasabi vapor? Poor Squiggles, everyone murmured in unison. The professor had sneezed rainbows for a week straight. As the medical team rushed Ping Pong to the emergency decontamination chamber, Blip-Zoop gathered their remaining team. Listen up, everyone. This is no longer just a routine study of Earth's nutritional practices. This is now a Class 1 planetary investigation. We must understand how these humans not only survive but actually seek out these chemical weapons they call seasonings. But Commander Jack Frost spoke up, a worried frost pattern forming on his snowy forehead. What if they have evolved beyond our understanding? What if they're actually enjoying it? Blip-Zoop's tentacles curled in determination. Then may the cosmic gods help us all. Because if humans consider this entertainment, we need to seriously reconsider their classification in the galactic database. Computer, begin recording Earth investigation file 69420. Subject: how a species evolved to eat literal fire for fun. In the background, they could still hear Ping Pong screams. Who puts this on their eggs? Who? The grand chamber of the Galactic Safety Council buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from over 3,000 civilizations packed the spiral-shaped auditorium, their various appendages, tentacles, and sensory organs all focused on the central holographic display showing the infamous red bottle. Order in the council. High Chancellor Bubbles, who, despite their name, was actually a very serious 12-foot-tall praying mantis in a bow tie, slammed their ceremonial gavel, which unfortunately shattered on impact. Blast it. That's the 3rd gavel this week. Never should have ordered them from Earth. Commander Blip-Zoop floated to the central platform, their tentacles clutching a stack of data tablets. Esteemed members of the council, what I'm about to share will shock you to your core genetic material. Our research team has discovered that humans don't just tolerate these substances, they actively seek them out for pleasure. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Someone in the back started sobbing. Impossible, shouted Ambassador Fluffkins, a being who looked exactly like a 6-eyed hamster in a 3-piece suit. No sentient species would willingly inflict such pain upon themselves. Oh, but they do. Blip-Zoop activated the holographic display. Let me take you back to our first diplomatic dinner with the humans, exactly 1 solar rotation ago. The hologram flickered to life, showing the historic first meeting between Earth's diplomats and the Galactic Federation. The human representative, Madison Mad Dog Rodriguez, stood out in their bright Hawaiian shirt among the various alien diplomats. And here Rodriguez was saying in the recording, "We've prepared a traditional Earth buffet to showcase our culinary diversity. Please, help yourselves." The footage showed Ambassador Fluffkins approaching a seemingly innocent red substance labeled buffalo wings. What happened next caused several council members to cover their visual organs. "My fur turned pink and stayed that way for 3 months present day," Fluffkins shouted, patting their now normal golden fur anxiously. But that's not the worst part, Blip-Zoop continued. "Watch what happens when we confronted the human about the chemical weapon they called ghost pepper sauce." The hologram showed Rodriguez's response, "Oh yeah, that's the mild stuff. Wait till you try the Carolina Reaper." Mild, the entire council erupted in chaos. A delegation of gaseous beings became so agitated they accidentally merged into one large, confused cloud. Chancellor. Blip-Zoop raised all 4 tentacles for emphasis. "We have documented evidence of humans hosting competitions, where they consume increasingly dangerous levels of these substances. They call them hot wings challenges and chili cook-offs. They even post videos of their suffering on something called YouTube." For what purpose? Chancellor Bubbles leaned forward, their antennae twitching nervously. "For fun. And something they call internet points." The chamber descended into pandemonium. The gelatinous representative from Blob 9 literally liquefied in shock. The crystalline delegation started stress fracturing. "Silence!" Chancellor Bubbles roared, accidentally snapping their backup gavel. "Clearly this situation is more serious than we imagined. Commander Blip-Zoop, your team's new mission is to understand how humans became capable of such feats. Are they secretly invincible? Are they immune to pain? Or are they simply insane?" With all due respect, Chancellor Dr. Nova Starweaver stepped forward, her crystalline form glowing with concern. "We might be dealing with something far more terrifying. They might just be doing it for the memes." The council chamber went dead silent. Even the perpetually humming anti-gravity generators seemed to pause in shock. "Very well," Chancellor Bubbles straightened their bow tie with their mandibles. "We hereby authorize a full investigation into this phenomenon. But for the love of all that's cosmic, be careful. We've already lost too many good researchers to something called Dave's insanity sauce." As the emergency meeting adjourned, Commander Blip-Zoop couldn't shake the memory of their last conversation with Madison Rodriguez. "Wait until they discover Wasabi," the human had whispered, with what they now recognized as a mischievous grin. "Or better yet, show them a Tide Pod challenge." Blip-Zoop made a mental note to research what a Tide Pod was later, though something in their gut tentacles told them they might regret it. "Operation Hot Sauce Infiltration, Day 7, Commander Blip-Zoop whispered into their data recorder, adjusting their holographic human disguise. "Our research team has positioned themselves at strategic locations across Earth's culinary establishments. May the cosmic gods protect us all." From their booth at Pedro's Inferno, home of the Devil's Breath Burrito Challenge, Blip-Zoop watched in horror as Dr. Nova Starweaver, disguised as a fashionable Instagram influencer, approached the counter. "I'd like to try your spiciest dish," Nova announced, her crystalline structure barely concealed by the hologram. "Something that'll really light me up." The restaurant owner, Pedro Martinez, grinned wickedly. "Ah, another brave soul. You must sign this waiver first." Through their earpiece, Blip-Zoop heard researcher Jack Frost panic from his observation post inside a conveniently placed freezer. "Waiver? Waiver? Since when does food require legal documentation?" Before they could abort the mission, Pedro returned with what appeared to be a normal burrito. But their sensors detected heat signatures rivaling those of a small sun. "Ladies and gentlemen," Pedro announced to the restaurant, "we have another challenger for the Supernova burrito. If she finishes it in 10 minutes, her picture goes on our wall of flame." Wall of flame. Nova's hologram flickered slightly. How delightfully terrifying. What happened next would go down in galactic research history as the Great Mexican Meltdown. One bite into the burrito, Nova's crystalline form began to vibrate at such a frequency that she accidentally tuned into 3 different radio stations and a satellite TV channel. By bite 2, she had become a makeshift disco ball, shooting rainbow beams across the restaurant. "Sweet mother of meteorites," she screamed, her voice auto-tuning itself. It's weaponized sunshine. Meanwhile, across town at Bangkok Street, Spice senior researcher Ping Pong, now recovered from the sriracha incident, was experiencing their own crisis. Disguised as a food critic, they had ordered something called Thai hot after specifically being warned not to. Status update: they managed to transmit between gulps of water. The humans have weaponized soup. I repeat, they have weaponized soup. The Tom Yum had caused all three of Ping Pong's tongues to achieve temporary sentience. Each tongue was now trying to escape in a different direction, making their human disguise look like something from a glitch in the Matrix. Need backup, Ping Pong gargled. The humans, they're just watching. Some are taking videos. They call this entertainment. But the real catastrophe was yet to unfold at Curry Paradise. Dr. Bob, still in their gaseous form, had made the critical error of assuming their natural state would protect them from Earth's spices. They floated confidently into the restaurant, wearing a trench coat and hat as their disguise. "Ah, welcome," the restaurant owner, Mrs. Patel, greeted them. "Would you like to try our special today? The Phal Curry Challenge." "Challenge accepted," Dr. Bob expanded proudly. "As a being of pure gas, I am immune to your earthly spices." 2 minutes later, the emergency response team found Dr. Bob condensed into a small puddle of spicy soup, their gaseous form having been completely reorganized by the curry's atomic structure. The humans, the puddle that was Dr. Bob, bubbled weakly. "They eat this for fun." Commander Blip-Zoop watched in dismay as their team fell one by one to Earth's culinary warfare. Through their communicator, they could hear similar reports flooding in from research teams worldwide. "Japan base, we've lost contact with Team Wasabi." Their last words were, "It's just green paste. How bad could it be?" Temperature sensors in Sichuan province just exploded. The mapo tofu was too powerful. Code red in Korea. Kimchi situation critical. They fermented on purpose. Back at Pedro's, Nova had finally stopped broadcasting random TV channels but was now stuck speaking in auto-tune. "Commander." She harmonized melodically, "I believe we've severely underestimated human resilience." The small human child at the next table just ate 3 of these burritos and asked for dessert. Blip-Zoop's tentacles curled in resignation. They reached for their emergency communicator to contact the Galactic Safety Council, but paused as Pedro approached their table with a sinister smile. "How about you, friend? Would you like to try our new Carolina Reaper salsa? It's on the house." Before Blip-Zoop could decline, a drop of salsa accidentally fell onto their tentacle. Their holographic disguise short-circuited immediately, revealing their true form to the entire restaurant. But instead of panic, the humans burst into applause. "Awesome special effects, dude," someone shouted. "That's some next-level cosplay," another chimed in. "Is this for YouTube?" a teenager asked, already live streaming. As their consciousness faded and their tentacles tied themselves into panic knots, Commander Blip-Zoop made one final log entry conclusion: Earth must be classified as a death world. Not because of its predators, not because of its climate, but because its inhabitants have evolved to derive pleasure from chemical warfare disguised as cuisine. Most terrifying of all, they're trying to share it with the galaxy. The last thing they heard before passing out was Pedro's cheerful voice, "Wait until they try our ghost pepper ice cream." In the freezer, Jack Frost simply melted in despair. Day 47 of human spice analysis, Dr. Nova Starweaver dictated, her crystalline form still occasionally glowing red from residual capsaicin exposure. "Our laboratory tests have revealed disturbing results." The research lab, now converted into a high-security containment facility, housed the largest collection of hot sauces ever assembled outside Earth. Each bottle was kept in a reinforced transparent case, labeled with warning signs in 47 different galactic languages. Subject 23, codenamed Texas Pete, appears mild compared to Subject 89. "Da bomb beyond insanity," Nova continued, watching as their most advanced testing robot, Carl Capsaicin Analysis and Research Liaison, approached the sauce rack. Initiating test sequence, Carl announced cheerfully. 3 seconds after applying a single drop of Da bomb to its sensor array, Carl's primary processors melted. Its last words were, "Existence is pain. Goodbye, cruel world." "That's the 5th Carl this week," Ping Pong sighed, all 3 tongues still bandaged from previous experiments. At least this one didn't try to upload its consciousness to the coffee machine like Carl 3 did. Commander Blip-Zoop burst into the lab, tentacles flailing excitedly. "Everyone, you need to see this. Our analysis of human brain scans just came in." The team gathered around the holographic display, which showed a human brain on spicy food. To their horror, the pleasure centers were lighting up like a cosmic disco. "This can't be right," Dr. Bob bubbled nervously, still partially condensed from the curry incident. "According to these readings, humans don't just tolerate the pain, their brains actually reward them for it." "It gets worse." Blip-Zoop pulled up another hologram. "We've discovered they've been systematically breeding these pepper plants to be even spicier. They're literally engineering their own torture devices." The lab's AI chimed in. "Fun fact, the humans have created something called the Scoville scale to measure their pain levels. They view it as a challenge." A challenge. Nova's crystal structure cracked slightly in distress. "You mean they see these numbers and think, I bet I can go higher?" "Precisely," the AI confirmed. "They even host competitions." "Stop!" Ping Pong's tongues shouted in unison. "We don't need to hear about the competitions again." Just then, their human consultant, Chef Randy the Reaper Thompson, walked in wearing a hazmat suit. "Hey guys, ready to test the new batch?" The entire scientific team retreated to the far corner of the lab. Last time Randy had brought samples, 3 ceiling tiles had dissolved, and the air filtration system had filed for emotional distress leave. "Don't worry," Randy grinned, pulling out a tiny bottle with a skull and crossbones label. "This one's pretty mild. Only 2 million Scoville units." Dr. Bob immediately evaporated in fear, setting off the lab's humidity alarms. "Fascinating," Commander Blip-Zoop observed from behind a protective force field. "And humans consume this, voluntarily." "Oh yeah," Randy beamed. "My grandma puts this on her morning toast. Says it helps her wake up." The entire research team stood in stunned silence, trying to process the concept of a species that used chemical warfare as a breakfast condiment. I believe Nova finally spoke, her voice trembling. "We need to update Earth's classification immediately. This isn't just a death world, it's a world where the inhabitants actively seek out and cultivate substances that would be classified as biological weapons on most other planets. And they do it," Ping Pong added. For fun, the entire team finished in horrified unison. Commander Blip-Zoop began drafting their report to the Galactic Safety Council. Preliminary findings suggest humans have developed an unprecedented tolerance for capsaicin. Through what they call building up resistance, they deliberately expose themselves to increasingly potent specimens in what appears to be some form of masochistic entertainment. "Oh hey," Randy interrupted, pulling out another bottle. "Want to try this new sauce I made? I call it Supernova's Revenge. It made my cousin see through time." As the lab's emergency evacuation sirens began blaring, Commander Blip-Zoop made one final note: update, humans don't just eat spicy food. They're proud of it. The galaxy may never be prepared for their potlucks. The Galactic Intervention Fleet hovered above Earth's major cities, their ships designed to resemble giant bottles of milk. Operation Cool Down was about to commence. "Citizens of Earth," Commander Blip-Zoop's message boomed worldwide. "We have come to save you from yourselves and your addiction to capsaicin-based torture devices." In response, humans worldwide looked up from their bowls of fire noodles and ghost pepper chips, more amused than alarmed. "Beginning emergency dairy deployment," Blip-Zoop ordered. "Release the tactical milk reserves." But before the fleet could unleash their lactose-based intervention, Madison Mad Dog Rodriguez's voice crackled over the emergency channel. "Hey guys, since you're all here, want to join our annual Intergalactic Wing Challenge?" Wing Challenge. The entire fleet paused mid-deployment. "Yeah, we've got mild ones for beginners. Only around 500,000 Scovilles." 3 alien ships immediately retreated to a safe distance. What followed was the greatest misunderstanding in galactic history. Instead of their planned intervention, the alien fleet found themselves invited to humanity's first interstellar spice festival, held in the parking lot of Bob's Buffalo Wing Emporium in Texas. "Welcome everyone." Bob himself stood on a makeshift stage, wearing an apron that read "Kiss the cook at your own risk." "Today we're making history. The first ever human-alien hot wing championship." The alien scientists watched in horror as their diplomatic representatives were seated at long tables, each place setting equipped with water, milk, and what humans optimistically called mild sauce. "First round honey BBQ," Bob announced. Ambassador Fluffkins, still traumatized from their previous spice encounter, cautiously sniffed a wing. This is actually quite pleasant, they squeaked, their 6 eyes widening in surprise. Oh, just wait, Chef Randy grinned ominously. We're just getting started. As the rounds progressed, the scene became increasingly chaotic. Dr. Nova Starweaver's crystalline form started playing disco music again after round 3 Thai chili. Ping Pong's 3 tongues tried to stage another escape during round 5 mango habanero. Dr. Bob had to be kept in a special pressure-sealed container to prevent spice-induced evaporation. But something unexpected happened along the way. The aliens started enjoying themselves. You know, Commander Blip-Zoop slurred after their 7th wing, their tentacles slightly numb. I think I'm beginning to understand the appeal. The initial pain, followed by this bizarre pleasure response. It's quite fascinating. That's the endorphins talking, Bob laughed, serving the next round. Wait till you try these bad boys, they're made with Carolina Reapers. The resulting scene would be talked about in galactic history books for centuries. 17 different species discovered they could breathe fire. The crystalline delegation temporarily achieved fusion. 3 previously non-luminescent species began to glow. But most surprisingly, cultural barriers began breaking down over shared suffering and laughter. You think this is hot, Ambassador Fluffkins challenged, their fur now permanently tie-dyed from spice exposure. On my planet we have crystals that… Actually, never mind, this is way worse. The event reached its climax when the humans revealed their secret weapon, something they called the last dab. The resulting heat wave was detected by satellites. For conclusion, Commander Blip-Zoop typed into their final report, tears streaming from all 5 eye stalks. Humans don't just eat spicy food for fun. They use it as a way to bond, to challenge themselves, and apparently to achieve altered states of consciousness that our scientists still cannot explain. The Galactic Safety Council's official classification was updated to read Earth Classification Death World Culinary Division. Warning: inhabitants voluntarily consume chemical compounds for entertainment. Approach all food offerings with extreme caution. Pack antacids. As the festival wound down, Madison Mad Dog Rodriguez approached the commander with a small bottle. Here's a souvenir, my homemade hot sauce. I call it first contact. But why? Blip-Zoop asked, carefully accepting the bottle with their safety tentacle. Madison grinned. Because sometimes the best way to understand each other is to suffer together. Plus, your reaction to sriracha was priceless. That bottle now sits in the Galactic Museum, next to a sign reading the condiment that almost started and then prevented an interstellar incident. And Earth? They added a new category to their hot wing challenges: aliens safe mild under 1 million Scovilles. Standing before the Galactic Safety Council's emergency session, Commander Blip-Zoop proudly displayed their new achievement patches, one for surviving the wing challenge, and another for what humans called leveling up to medium salsa. Esteemed council members, they began, still occasionally hiccuping small flames, I present our final classification report for Earth. But first, an important demonstration. They gestured to Dr. Nova Starweaver, who wheeled in a cart of innocent-looking bottles. Several council members immediately activated their personal force fields. These Blip-Zoop held up a bottle labeled extra hot, are now classified as level 3 controlled substances across the galaxy. Except on Earth, where they're considered condiments for children's meals. High Chancellor Bubbles adjusted their bow tie nervously. Your recommended classification, Commander. Earth must be designated a death world, effective immediately. But not for the reasons we initially thought. These humans, they don't just survive their deadly cuisine, they've turned it into an art form. The presentation holoscreen displayed various warning signs to be placed around Earth's solar system. Caution: local inhabitants consume capsaicin for entertainment. Warning: do not accept food challenges from humans. Danger: they consider ghost peppers a seasoning. Emergency notice: they're mild as your nuclear. Professor Squiggles, still sneezing rainbows from the wasabi incident, raised a tentacle. But what about cultural exchange programs? Surely we can't just quarantine an entire civilization because of their unique dietary preferences. Actually, Madison Rodriguez stepped forward, causing several council members to instinctively reach for their emergency milk supplies. We have a proposal. The doors opened to reveal the newly established Interstellar Culinary Academy, where humans and aliens work together to develop diplomatically safe versions of Earth's spiciest dishes. We call it training wheels for tongues, Madison explained. Start with ketchup, work your way up to mild salsa over a few years, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be ready for actual human food by the next century. The council chamber erupted in surprised murmurs as Chef Randy unveiled the graduation ceremony's final test, successfully eating one honey BBQ wing without requiring medical evacuation. Furthermore, Commander Blip-Zoop continued, Earth has agreed to establish the galaxy's first spice warning system. Green for aliens safe, yellow for proceed with caution, red for humans only, and black for even humans cry. And what about the beacons? Chancellor Bubbles inquired. Already operational, Your Excellency. Every approaching ship will receive the following message: Welcome to Earth. Hope you brought milk. The Council's final resolution was passed unanimously, making Earth the first planet classified as a death world, not for its predators or climate, but for its snack options. 1 year later, at the first annual Intergalactic Food Festival, Commander Blip-Zoop stood proudly behind their booth. Blip's barely spicy beginner's sauce, only 100 Scovilles, proving surprisingly popular among the alien attendees. Next door, Dr. Bob had finally learned to maintain solid form while sampling mild curry, though they still occasionally evaporated when someone mentioned jalapenos. Ping Pong's three tongues had not only stopped trying to escape, but had developed distinct personalities and food preferences. They now hosted a popular cooking show called Triple Taste Test: An Alien's Guide to Not Dying from Human Food. Dr. Nova Starweaver had turned their spice-induced musical glitch into a feature, becoming the galaxy's first crystalline DJ who could literally light up the dance floor. Their signature move, the habanero hip shake. As Madison Mad Dog Rodriguez approached their booth, Commander Blip-Zoop's tentacles trembled with newfound excitement rather than fear. Ready to try the new sauce, Madison grinned, pulling out a tiny bottle with more warning labels than a nuclear reactor. Is it going to make me see through time again? Blip-Zoop asked hopefully. Even better, this one might let you taste colors. As the festival continued around them, the massive warning beacon orbiting Earth blinked its eternal message to the stars approach, with caution contains humans who eat spicy food for fun. And in the Galactic Museum of Sentient Studies, a simple bottle of sriracha sits in a heavily reinforced display case, bearing the plaque, the condiment that changed galactic history, approach at own risk. Below it, someone had scrawled in permanent marker, humans call this one mild. The galaxy would never be the same, but at least they'd learned to pack extra milk.